Hey Queens, it's your girl Sasha Ravae, founder of Queen Telling Queens, and I am so excited to announce that today is the official first episode of our new weekly series. Healing is the new bag. What is healing is the new bag. In just today's society, that's all people seem to be concerned with is getting the bag, chasing bags, staying in their bag, insert here. And I love the energy, but I feel like sometimes it's misdirected. In the work that we do with Queen Telling Queens, there's so much foundational work to be done before you could really start talking about making money and what that looks like. And in no capacity am I saying that, people can't be successful financially. But what and not do the work, I guess you could say. But what I am saying is that that has consequences and that creates imbalance. So when we say healing is the new bag, that's the source. You going back to the foundation, figuring out what's not broken, but what just needs to be reassessed and evaluated. That brings about a power that you couldn't even, imagine, and opportunities flow to you so much easier. Financial resources flow to you so much easier. So that's exactly what this will be about, is how do we stay in our healing bag? How do we stay in our growth bag? Because that's going to bring you, all the things that you're actually looking for. So, to give you some context, like I said, my name is Sasha Ravae. I am the founder of Queen Telling Queens. I started Queen Telling Queens back in November 2018. And it was essentially really just an Instagram page. It wasn't like this thought out idea, that it has came to be today. So at the time, I was really going through a transition, you could say. I started shedding everything that you could say was normal. Like, I stopped drinking. I stopped hanging around certain people. I just like things that were super normal, super comfortable for me before, became super uncomfortable, and I couldn't deal with it anymore. I became vegan. I'm still the only person in my family who's vegan. It was just like I was going through all of these changes and I could not put a name on it. I did not know what was going on. And then it's like obviously the climate in society was very tense, and it was just so negative, and it was just a lot. It was a lot for me personally, mentally. So when I started Queen Telling Queens, it was to escape all of that. And I'm like, if I want to see positivity, I have to be positivity, basically. So that's what it started out as. As time went on, it started to become obvious that there were so many women who were in my shoes, who had the same experience that I had in some way, shape, or form, and the page blew up. So in the almost 3 years, 2.5 years that we've been a thing, we have almost 160,000 followers, and that's insane to me, because that's definitely not where my mind was then. So that was in 2018, the end of 2018. 2019, fast forward, in March, my husband had to have shoulder surgery because in 2017, he got hit by a car, like completely head on hit by a car, and it really messed him up. So he was finally getting surgery in 2019. I found out I was pregnant like that same, like 2 days before he had surgery or something. And so I was super excited. I have two boys, a 12-year-old and a 4-year-old. And so, yes, adding to my family, I was completely okay with that. So that's March. My birthday's April 3rd. April 2nd, I have a miscarriage. I'm devastated, obviously, but I never experienced that before, so I had no kind of insight into what goes into that. So I just went about my life as normal, and I didn't think anything of it. So again, I'm working a 9 to 5. I have 2 children. I'm married. I'm a basketball mom. I'm also, again, before doing any of this, I'm an author. I am a publisher, so I have my own publishing company, Black Eden Publications. So yeah, so it's like I'm always on go, 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 go. While all the while, all this stuff is happening internally. So, fast forward a little bit more in August, my mom kind of rallies the family together and tells us that she has stage 4 liver cancer, and that the doctors say that there's nothing that they can do. Chemo's not an option, surgery's not an option. Basically, it's just like she has up to a year to live. And I would have taken that year, because in like a month and a half, she was gone. So October 8th, she passed away. And so that was a lot, because, to learn that your mother is dying is one thing, and then to have to actually watch her die is a whole other thing. So mind you, I'm going through this, and I'm taking time off work, but it's not, you can't turn off life. So it's still a lot going on all at the same time. And unfortunately, my mom was in a position to not have all of her affairs in order. So then it's like she dies, and it falls on me and my brother to figure out how to bury her and what to do with all of her belongings, and it's just a lot. And now couple this with, on the shadow surface of everything, on lurking behind the scenes, I've developed anemia because of my miscarriage, because of the blood loss. I lost so much blood at that time. I think I was bleeding for like 8 days or something. I was so crazy to not go to the hospital. Like, hindsight is always 20/20. So if you have any type of issues, like, please do not hesitate to reach out to somebody for some type of assistance, because all of the things that happened after could have probably been prevented if I would have just addressed it then. But anyway, so I have anemia. I'm burying my mom. And it came to a point where I had to tell my husband, like, this is too much. Like, I can't go to not nan one basketball game. I'm not cooking another meal. Like, I really just wanted to check out. And it's like, I hate to say it, but in brutal honesty, and it's like, obviously, this community, I trust you. I love you guys. If it was not for my children, I would have completely checked out, like, from this world 100%, because it was so heavy. I felt like the world was whooping my ass, and I didn't know how to fight. Like, I wasn't fighting back. I wasn't doing anything. I was just laying there. I spent 2020, the New Year's Eve before 2020 in the hospital, like December 29th, I'm in the hospital for the same thing. Mind you, this anemia is causing me to have blood transfusions, and it's just a lot going on. Stuff that I'm not used to. I'm a very fairly healthy person. Healthier now for sure, but even in my unhealthy days, I never had issues like that. So this was all crazy to me. So when I got out of the hospital, I just vowed to myself that I was really going to find some type of holistic way to get my iron back together and just really knock this out. So I was very optimistic. Again, it's 2020. Everybody thought this is my year, like, whatever happened in 2019, we're leaving it there and we're starting over. That lasted for a month. In February, my oldest sister, had a heart attack, and she passed away. And so 3 months between losing my mom, I lose my oldest sister. And so now me and my family are right back in the same spot, having to figure out what to do with final arrangements. And it was just a whole lot going on. It was just a very emotional time for me as well as my family. And then March hits, and Miss Coronavirus says hello, like, and introduces herself to the world, and shuts everything down. And again, this is like, I can't speak for everybody else, but I've never been through anything of the sort. So it was very odd, very strange, very uncomfortable. And again, the world goes on. I'm still working. I still have children. I still have other obligations. Like, nothing's turning off, but it's just all these like crazy happenings. And I'm just like, what is it? What am I supposed to see? Like, I don't understand what I'm missing. And so it was just this point where I saw myself at a crossroads where I'm like, I can let all of this heavy stuff, yes, squish me and really crush me and really take me out mentally and probably then physically, or I can figure out a way to stand on it and use it to my benefit. And that's what I did. So I would say the latter half of 2020 was really me reassessing what Queen Telling Queens means and what it means for me and what I want it to mean, for the world, and put a lot more structure on the work that I have been doing. And so out of all of this chaos came what we call the elevation method. And so it's just weird. If you've read The Alchemist, you know that the story begins where essentially the sheep herder guy ends. You know what I mean? And that's where the treasure was. Like, he went on this roundabout trip looking for this treasure, and the treasure was literally at home, but he would have never been able to find it if he would not have gone on this crazy roundabout journey. So I love that. And that's how I see my own journey. Like, when I was going through my transformation, number one, I didn't know what to call it, or I didn't have a mentor. I wasn't in counseling or therapy or anything like that. So it just felt like literally I was losing my mind. Like, I'm like, I hate everything. I hate my life. I don't understand what's happening, why I can't seem to get out of this funk, this rut. And now I understand that I went through all of these things out of order. And so I said to myself, if we can structure it in a way that is in order, then it will be a lot easier for people to navigate through their own journey. So in no way, shape, or form could I ever say, like, yes, we're gonna fix you, because it's like, what does that even mean? But I am very confident that Queens Healing Queens provides the tools necessary to get you from point A to point B. So for the elevation method, we have 3 levels, basic levels, and then we have what we call our diamond level. So in level 1, this is pre-awareness, right? So this is either you feel the same way, like you're uncomfortable about something, but you're not really sure what it is, or you are you're super uncomfortable and you know what it is, but you're not really sure how to go about changing it, right? So pre-awareness of like, what's the issue? So the first question that we always ask is, what is holding you back, right? Like, if you had to describe like your ideal version of yourself, what's stopping you from being her? And a lot of the times we hear, if I only had more money, then things would be this. Or, if I was in this type of relationship, then things would be different, or whatever. It's very surface level. And that's to be expected because, again, we're pre-awareness. Like, if we're going to use, and so I want you guys to get very comfortable because I speak in metaphors. So, like, yes, I hope, yes, let me know if you can keep up and if it makes sense. But yes, okay. So if pre-awareness is like you're dipping your toe in the water, or you might be at the water's edge, or like you might not even be at the beach, like you're hanging out on the pier, you're not even by the water at all, right? So we don't even know what the water really is about. So that pre-awareness, we're very surface level. We're just talking about the things that are going on in our immediate reality, and again, that's to be expected. But if you take it a step further and really dig deep, you're going to see that all of our issues stem from blocks that we have that are from some point in time that we didn't process through. And a majority of people, these kind of like wounds, you could say, or trauma, happens in our childhood, unfortunately. And so it's the equivalent of like, us walking around as children on the inside in these adult bodies, and then we wonder why we don't know how to communicate, we don't know how to maintain relationships, we don't know how to care for self first and foremost, because we're children and we're kind of looking for that guidance. So in level one, it's all about exploration of self, really. And it's all about like shadow work, and that's what I love. It's kind of, I think in 2020 I discovered that term, but the concept just rings so true to me of like, when we go through these traumas, a part of ourselves is like fragmented, or kind of like broken off from the collective, and it's in the shadows, and we ignore it, we repress it, we suppress it. It just goes unacknowledged, and I've noticed that can only go on for so long, right? And so bringing it back to me as being the example, everything became uncomfortable because the things that I was doing were only band-aids for bigger issues that I was not addressing. Number one, that I didn't even know I needed to address, and I didn't know that they were there for me to address. So it's like, eventually the knocking gets so loud that you have to answer. So that's what all level one is about. And you really see that what's holding you back is you. Like, yes, we all go through traumatic situation. I shouldn't say we all, but in some way, shape, or form, like we all experience pain. And it's a matter of like how you are processing that. Emotions are very flowy energy, right? Everything is energy. And I think that we attach ourselves to our emotions, right? So it's like, I am angry, I am frustrated, I am whatever, like insert whatever. And it's like, instead of saying I feel angry, or like I am feeling frustrated, that opens the door for that to come and then go, right? So that's what the elevation method level one is that how do you identify these blocks and then really address them? Because unfortunately, people believe that just because you don't address things in real time, that just makes them go away. But it's like, that dirt under that rug, nobody cleaned it, so where is it going? It has no place to go. So now is going to be the work where you have to process through that. And what that looks like and feels like is you actually feeling through those emotions that you kind of put on pause. So what we call that is like, you're on autopilot. Before you get to the water's gate, so to speak, you've been on autopilot, and you've learned to numb yourself and medicate yourself in different ways. And now you're being asked to press play on all of however many years you've been on pause. So I would say this is the the most work that you will really do, because you're essentially recreating your foundation, right? Like in childhood, our foundations are supposed to be created for us by our caretakers, our parents, our guardians, what have you. And sometimes that does not happen. So how do you recreate that yourself? So, with shadow work, I love the concept of like, there's all these kind of fragmented pieces of ourselves, and it's like, how do you bring them back? How do you integrate them back? Because it's not about as a lot of religious people would say, killing the flesh, or like shunning these different aspects of yourself. It's really about integrating them back into the fold. So for example, growing up, I had a very bad anger problem. Like, I can go from 0 to 60 like that, and it was like for absolutely no reason sometimes. And I would be called aggressive and just all these things. And it wasn't until I started doing excuse me, my work for elevation method level 1, that I realized that my anger stemmed from my childhood. That, again, at only, from a young kid, I was in the role of a parent, because my mother unfortunately had a drug problem. And that's going to be in our next video. So stay tuned. We're definitely going to get into toxic independence and what that looks like. What does that mean? So again, I was angry. Like, I didn't have a childhood. I didn't get to be a kid. I had to worry about very adult-like things. And then it didn't get better even when I got an adult. So there was a lot of pent-up energy and it was very misdirected. But looking at that hurt little girl, right? Like, I can't blame her for being hurt. I can just redirect that energy. And so now I'm a fire sign. I'm an Aries. I don't think I'll ever lose that kind of fieriness spirit about myself, but definitely to use it for good. Like anything, everything has two sides. So fire can either warm you or it can burn you. And I'm much more in the business of warming things and, but if need to, like, yes, definitely, I can get hot quick. So I love that duality of everything. So now it's like I look at it like I'm this candle, and that if people can find their own light from, me, or, like because of me, that's amazing, as opposed to me like burning everything down to the ground. So yes, that was through level 1. You're figuring out really what are your blocks. Again, going back to the metaphor of like growth and healing being this journey. Think of it like a garden, right? Like in pre-awareness, there's weeds everywhere. There may be old backyard furniture. There's garbage, like, debris. There's just like boards and nails, and it's just chaotic. What do you do with that? How do you plan anything with that, right? So now level 1 is all about like really clearing and cleaning up. And that's what, like your garden being your mental health and all of that. So how do you clear all of that stuff? And so we really believe that on this journey, unfortunately, a lot of us are carrying bags that are weighing us down, and you have to stop. Right. And I think that's the perfect time to do it, is like if you hit rock bottom. People look at rock bottom as like a negative thing. And I look at it like, oh my God, thank God somebody hit rock bottom, because as long as you're spiraling, like what do you hold onto? What do you grab onto? Where do you plant your feet? Like, where do you ground yourself? There's nowhere to ground yourself. You're spiraling, and you can do that forever. But when you hit rock bottom, that's that solid footing that you have to say, this is uncomfortable. I don't like it here. Like, now how do I, elevate, right, to the level that I want to elevate? So, figuring out why you are carrying all these bags is going to make your journey that much easier, because in our bags you'll usually see, and we say there are usually like 3 options. You're carrying other people's bags, or you're carrying other people's items in your bags. Cut it out. That's done. So you're politely returning everything that does not belong to you. You're returning that to somebody else, like, or to whoever it belongs to. Return it, because 9 times out of 10 is probably just like projection, and we don't carry that. So that's boom, bag already lighter, probably like 50% lighter. The next thing that we see in our bag is things that are outdated or don't fit anymore. And so I always say, when I'm working, with the queens that I work with, you wouldn't, like, you're not wearing clothes from 6th grade, right? I mean, unless you're one of those ones that's like, I can still fit in my middle school outfit, whatever. We're like, but usually you let that go. You outgrew that. So why is it still in your bag? Why do you still have it? That's like hoarding. There's no need for that. So then using the tools necessary, you process and release that. That makes your bag even lighter. And then literally everything that you're carrying along your journey is like your own baggage. And as you learn how to process in real time, you're not even carrying any bags at all. And it's just you on that you on that journey. And that's what Erica Badu says is like pack light. And that's what I love that song. That's what, Bag Lady is all about. Like, oh my God, you have so much emotional baggage. What are you doing? And it's definitely holding you back. So once you figure out that, then it's so much easier to assess, like, why is your mental garden, so to speak, so cluttered, and what can you throw away, and what can you organize, and what can you sort through. And then once you do that, you're at level 2, and this is what we call exploration and discovery. So now it's like, imagine you have this clean garden, it's leveled, it's soiled, it's cleared out, but there's nothing planted there, right? So question 1 is like, well, what would you even want to plant? Level 2 is all about discovering like who you are now, not who you were told to be, not who you thought you were. Really discovering like, what do I like, what don't I like, what are my passions, what are my interests. You're really discovering who you are. And that leads you into level 3, which is all about building and implementation, right? So bringing it back to the bag of, yes, like 100%, people have bills. You should be able to afford the lifestyle that you would like to afford. What does that look like? And I am an advocate of us as women doing things that we want to be doing and not things that we think that we should be doing, or we feel like we have no other choice but to do. So it's like, what does your business plan look like for you? And if that's growing within your career, that's amazing. And if that's going off on your own and starting something completely out of the box, that's amazing too. But how do you become self-sufficient? And then the diamond level is like, now you have your business rolling, your bag is secured emotionally, and that's first and foremost. And so all these other blessings will flow. So now we're talking about like investments and like, real estate and property and, nationalities, and just like, it's just so much stuff that's like at that top. But there's times and places for everything. And I think sometimes we try to do things out of order and we don't understand necessarily why, things are not in alignment. In no capacity is this saying like, once you get to the top, that's it. As you can see, you can go back. Like, you can be on level 2 and find that you need to do some more level 1 work and be able to loop back, right? So that's what it's all about, is that these levels are definitely repeatable, for lack of better words. Like, you can go back, and I think, again, it's not even necessarily going back. You are just going to be able to process through things in real time, and not, it's like becoming a ninja, like that Fruit Ninja game. Like, you not even having no time for any of the shenanigans, like none of it. Like, cut it off right then and there and keep it moving. So that's what the elevation method is. And so with healing is a new bag, definitely weekly we are going to be discussing different topics on what that means, and definitely how we can elevate together. So until next time, queens, go out, be great, stay in your bag. Love you.